Good afternoon, everybody, or at least good afternoon for our European people listening. Good day to you all, and welcome to this webinar about litter quality and ammonia formation in poultry production. My name is Jan van Spil. I'm working for Vilofoss now for 4 years. In the Vilofoss Poultry Group, and in the Vilofoss Poultry Group we give support to clients and colleagues, dealers worldwide on all poultry matters, on feed formulations and other poultry matters which occur in our market. Before working for Vilofoss, I already have a 20+ years of experiences in other jobs, always poultry related. During the webinar, you can ask questions by using the chat, and then we will come back to this in the end of the webinar. And another thing which I have to mention is that this session will be recorded for the people who want to listen to it at a later time. So if there are no objections to this recording, then it is considered as being an approval. So let's start with the webinar. As mentioned, we are talking today on the impact of litter quality and ammonia formation in poultry production. Let me give you a quick sum up of what to expect today. First of all, we are going to have some theoretical learning guided by research done worldwide on this topic. After that, we will see in what way Stallosan F can be supportive in the topics which we discussed in the first part. Then Anna of Sanphar will join us, and she will explain and talk about the user experiences, so practical things in the field. And then we will have some time left for questions and remarks from your side. So let's start with the first part and discuss things on bedding and litter. And first of all, we have to be clear on what is bedding and what is litter. And if we talk on poultry bedding, we talk about the fresh new products which is spread into a poultry housing. And we have some demands for this kind of bedding. It should be in big volumes available. And not only that, it should be cheap also, free from dust. It may not cause any contamination, and it should not cake or getting compact. So, is this bedding available? The answer is no. There is a lot of different beddings used worldwide, and this is just a sum up of some of these beddings, but there are always pros and cons on the bedding which you choose. Why do we use bedding? We want to have a nice, smooth underground for the birds to live on. It is an isolation layer between the birds and the floor. Even if it's concrete or soil, it's an isolation layer between the birds and the floor, and it should absorb and release moisture. Then we'll come up to the term litter. What is litter? Litter is a mixture of bedding material, manure, water, spilled feed, and feathers. And if you would analyze litter, you would come up with something like this. And of course, we'll go to the laser point. Of course, these average figures for this analysis for litter is not a fixed one. There's always a range between the figures as mentioned in this analysis. There's a difference if you reuse your litter or put in new fresh bedding every cycle, but in general, this would be an analysis for poultry litter. And as mentioned on the invitation for this webinar, we are going on a journey into this litter. And if you go on a journey, you always have to make choices where to stop or where to not stop. So today we plan to make stops at the topics pH, dry matter content, and nitrogen in the litter. And we leave the rest for what it is. We have to start somewhere, and the start today is nitrogen. Nitrogen is a part of is all about the protein metabolism in poultry, and the nitrogen part is always in a linked bond because this nitrogen is a fundamental component of amino acids. And amino acids, as we all know, are the building blocks for the protein which we give to our birds. So if we do feed formulation and we'll have proteins available, then we right away know that some of these proteins, some of this nitrogen intake is non-digestible and a part is digestible. This is all about feed formulation. If the bird takes in this nitrogen, this protein, so this nitrogen, then the non-digestible part is directly excreted through the feces of the bird. For the non-digestible part, things happen. They use a part of the digestible part for production, meat production, egg production, and a part is used for maintenance for the bird itself. And also in this digestible part, a part of the nitrogen is unused. So in the end, we come up with an intake of 100% nitrogen, 70% is non-digestible, and the unused and maintenance part leaves the body through the urine. We all know poultry doesn't have urine, and it's excreted as a uric acid together with the feces into the manure. Intake of 100% and a leftover of 60% into the manure. 30% of all the nitrogen which leaves the body is excreted in the feces, and the other 70% in uric acid. This part of nitrogen is of course not directly ammonia. To get this manure into ammonia, we need to have some reactions going on. And this is, well, this is of course very theoretical, but I'll have to show that from the nitrogen bonded parts into feces to go to ammonia, we have to go to a chain of reactions. This nitrogen bonded part reacts with water and oxygen, and with the help of the enzyme uricase, there are formed two sorts of urea, two sorts. This one only can be further reacted into ammonia, but for this step is again water needed, and the enzyme urease. These two enzymes are present into the in the feces, so always available into a housing. So after two steps, the nitrogen in feces in manure can be transferred into ammonia. It looks like it's a fixed reaction over here into ammonia, but we will later see that this is not always the case. Beside this, some other gases are also produced, but we're not going to talk about this today. And then we will discuss what influences we can have on ammonia production, on the amount of ammonia production, and if or if not produced as ammonia. And the first thing which we notice if we look at these two reactions is that in both of them, water is involved. Simple water. So pretty soon we will come to the question, and this is the dry matter part, is water available in a poultry house? And this is an easy one to reply to. Of course, there is water available in a poultry house. Do we have any idea of how many water is available? So, do we have any insights in the quantity of water which runs through a poultry house during a broiler cycle? And I did find some figures of a 65-day broiler cycle, and the water which is into the manure deposition, and the water which comes from spillage of the drinkers, of the nipples. And then I did find figures that in a 25,000 square feet building, so 2,300 square meters, and this would be a building from around 43,000 broilers, we have a water production of 60,000 gallons. This is 230,000 liters of water. And this of course is an enormous amount of water, and to give you an idea of how many this is, I will simplify it for you. Imagine you have a kitchen of 30 square meters. This is 320 square feet surface. And you would throw into this kitchen every week 25 buckets of 15 liters. So 4 gallons, 25 bucks of 4 gallons of water, and do this for 8 weeks in a row. Then you would come up with these figures if you would transfer it to a building of this size. So we have an enormous amount of water available during a poultry cycle. And the good news is that your housing, with the ventilation, with your management, somehow can handle all this water. But of course, it has a direct influence on the water content in your litter. And if we speak on water content in litter, most of the time we speak about the moisture content. And the moisture content, simply explained, is there is a part, a dry matter part, the solid part, and we have a water part. And you have to take care what you use, because what you read, because sometimes it is mentioned as a moisture content on a wet basis, and sometimes it's mentioned on a dry basis. So if you make a calculation and you have a litter, 1 kilogram of litter, and in this 1 kilogram you have 250 grams of water. If you then make the calculation on the wet basis, you would come up at the moisture content of 21.5%. And if you have the same litter but do the calculation on dry basis, you would come up at 27.4%. And then in some regions of the world, they don't use this, but they use the dry matter. So if you talk on the same litter and you would discuss the dry matter, then you would come up with a dry matter of 78.5. These are all figures for the same litter, and all different types are used worldwide. But there is one thing about this moisture content. If we talk on the impact on litter quality, this figure of moisture content only gives us information regarding the quantity of the water into the litter, and not directly about the quality aspect. In other words, what does this amount of water do to the litter quality? And to to do this, so to find the quality aspect of this water, we need something else. We need to talk about the water activity. And this is more used in poultry production, but in basic, this is about the quality aspect of water. And what is water activity about? If you have a product, and this product binds water molecules, but if you put it in a locked cup under a certain pressure, some of the water molecules will come out. And if you put that fact in relation with pure water under a certain pressure and compare this with the water molecules in pure water, which come out of the water, then you have the figure water activity. And to better explain this, I will give you a simple example of a honey and a cookie. If we look at these two products, you will, of course, understand that the moisture content of honey will be higher than this dry cookie, even though it's very tasteful with the chocolate part in it. But if we look at the water activity of both products, we will find out that they are the same. So if you put this honey or this cookie into this cup, lock it up under the same pressure, you will see that the water in honey will have free molecules just as much as the cookie has. So if we talk on quality in litter, you need to have the combination of both moisture content and water activity. And why is this? Water activity is the figure which is used in food production to judge the shelf life. If you have less water activity, products normally can be stored for a long time or without doing anything special to store it. If you have a high water activity, and of course moisture content is in combination with this also, but if you have products with a high water quality, high water activity, then you need to, if you then want to store these products, you probably have to cool them down or even have to put them into a fridge or whatever. So water activity is a very important figure if we talk, if we speak on food quality. Can we combine these two figures for our poultry bedding? Because this is what we are here today for. And yes, we can. In this table, we did mix the water activity and the moist content of our beddings. And this is a table with different bedding materials. And there are some things which are really important to notice. As you see, if we speak on a bedding with 10% moist, and this is dry, we already have a water activity of 0.7, so over here. And if we add a little bit more moist to this litter, we already go into the region 3 about water activity. So from one side, this is good because we want to have a bedding which easily releases the moist which has been absorbed before, but this fact also makes it really fragile. And why is it making it fragile? Because if you connect this water activity with the formation of ammonia, you will see that there is hardly any um, ammonia production possible up to a water activity from about, what would it be, 0.65. But as from 0.7, the possible production of ammonia will go sky high up to 1, so to 100%. So it is almost impossible to not have ammonia production with the water activity we see in our bedding materials or in our litter. And the second thing is that it makes it very fragile also for diseases. Here again we have the table of the water activity and the moist content, and we see that with the high water activity and a moisture content, what we see on a daily basis in our broiler facilities, that there is a higher chance for mold, aspergillosis, but also staphylococcus, salmonellas, E. coli, and campylobacter. So if we face these kind of problems, we really have to look at our management and see on this specific farm how to control this, or to do it, or to do a better job in controlling the moist content on our facilities. So water has a really big influence on ammonia production, but also on the health status into our litter. Then we'll go to the pH part. As we see over here, on average, poultry litters should have a pH of about 8. What is pH? pH is a measurement of how acidic or how base, so alkaline, a product is. And this is in a range from 0 up to 14. And neutral, 7, would be our drinking water. And then if you go to orange or grapefruit juice, this is more acidic. And ammonia itself has a really high pH, up to 11, 12. And we find out that pH is a major influencer on all processes going on into our body. And this is for a lot of people who are listening to this webinar today and are working on feed production. We all know that there is a lot of processes going on into our guts, and pH is very important, and a very important aspect in this. But also in our soil, on our skin, pH is a major influencer on all processes going on. And if we take this pH also back into the subject, into the topic of today, we see that pH has a big influence also. As shown in this table, if we would manage to get our litter on a pH, or the environment on a pH of 5.5, we wouldn't have any ammonia production at all. And with this table, I can also explain very nicely what I mentioned before. I showed you the reaction chain of the formation of ammonia and already mentioned that it doesn't particularly mean that always ammonia is produced. And this has to do with pH. If the pH is low, there is no ammonia produced in a stable, but ammonium. And ammonium is solid and is bonded into the litter. and the ammonia, of course, is volatile and you will smell it, and you have to get rid of it because it will hurt your birds. And as higher the pH level is, as more ammonia is produced. So as we have ammonium production at this point, we will get a more bigger part of ammonia production into a higher pH level. And at this stage, it will be 50-50. And in this stage, there will be even more, this reaction will give even more ammonia. And another interesting thing to mention is that temperature influence this also. This is the isotherm at 30 degrees Celsius. This is the isotherm at 10 degrees Celsius. So if you heat up a barn, and this is what you see a lot with reuse of litter, there is a lot of ammonia production in the first week already. And because the barns are even 5 degrees more warmed up than this temperature is given, so you will have easy and earlier ammonia production in the situation with high temperatures. So pH is really important in the whole process of ammonia production in your stables, in a poultry stable. And then we discussed a lot of theory, and it would be interesting if this theory could be connected to money. So what does bad litter cost us? And there is a lot of research done on the topics which I mentioned before, and the combination with costs is hardly described. But I did find a writing of the University of Georgia together with the Fort Valley State University, where they made an estimation of the costs associated with poor litter conditions. And this is done for the US market. So they have different topics where they came up with costs due to bad litter. And one of them is ammonia. And over here is described how they did get to the problems, and over here is described how they come up to a amount of money due to these problems. And they were very conservative. They only took 50% of ammonia costs into bad litter quality. And they did the same for diseases. And for diseases, they said, well, we only take 10% of all the costs for diseases into and make this as caused by the bad litter. They did it with parasites, coccidiosis, worms, and very interesting, of course, they also took a part of the condemns and downgrades in the slaughterhouse related to bad litter. And then they come up with the total costs of bad litter. And we do not get into this specific number of costs because this was a research done in 2017. And if we recalculate today, we have to work with totally other prices. The cost will be even way more higher than calculated in this overview. But it is nice, and of course the situation worldwide is also different. This is specifically for US market, but it is nice that there is some kind of a example that you can make the translation from theoretical problems into money, and it will show you that there is it is effective to take management solutions to work on this, because you can save money by working on a bad litter quality. And that brings me to the second part, which I would like to take you in today and explain to you how our product Stallosan F could be supportive in the processes which I've just been telling to you. So I will mention the same topics as I did with the theory. I will come up to pH control, ammonia control, and drying. And first of all, I will come to pH control. We've seen that the average pH of poultry litter would be around 8.1 in a range of 6 up to 8.8. And I don't think we have to be Einstein to conclude that if we want to lower this pH level, we need a product which is more acidic than the litter itself. And if we look at the formulation of Stallosan F, we will find out that the product Stallosan F has a pH of 3.5. And this is really important because there is, I would say that Stallosan F is unique in being a powder product which you can use before but also during a cycle with this low pH. And this is all about the formulation which we have in Stallosan F. And well, there are of course a lot of drying agents on the market, but most of the time, I would say 95% of the cases, these products have a higher pH than the litter itself, around 9, 10. And that is the reason that there is a lot of limestone used in these products. Limestone base is calcium carbonate, and in Stallosan F we use carbon sulfate, and this is different. And it is really easy to, and then I have to change my pointer. It is really easy to find out if a product has a lot of carbonate inside with this high pH. In this simple trick, we had Stallosan F dissolved in water and a limestone product dissolved in water, and you will see what happens if we add a little bit of acetic acid. So this is maybe a nice and safe experience to try for yourself if you want to find out with what products you work with. Then we come up to the ammonia control, because if we can lower the environment on pH, it doesn't mean that we totally control the production of ammonia. So there will still be ammonia available, and also in this matter, Stallosan is helping, is useful to use in this case. Why? Stalosan F, because of its formulation, neutralizes ammonia irreversible. How this is done is shown into this reaction. As I mentioned, we have calcium sulfate into our product, and this reacts directly with ammonia if it's present into a building, and water. Well, we've seen that both are always present in a poultry house, and this reaction will turn into ammonium sulfate, which is a fertilizer and will stay into your bedding, and calcium oxide. And the good thing is that you not only lower the ammonia level in your building this way, you also bind a lot of water. which we have seen, there's a lot of them into the building. We really have to work on a drier building. So we will catch 2 fishes in one time by using Stalosan F. And I quickly want to show you how effective ammonia is with water binding if ammonia is available. We have a tube over here. We put in 100 grams of Stalosan and some water, and we will see that every 100 grams of Stalosan binds about 80 grams of water. If we put some ammonia in this bottle also, then we see all of a sudden that this same 100 grams of Stalosan binds all of a sudden over 400 grams, so over 4 times its own weight in water. So this makes it all of a sudden really effective dryer. If we look at the water binding capacity of different used beddings, and compare this with Stalosan or even another product, but we compare this with Stalosan, then you might reconsider by using a powder product to dry your stable. You maybe better can do some restrawing or put in some new wood shavings. But if ammonia is available, and it is, then all of a sudden the same Stalosan F binds a lot more water and is a really effective dryer besides reducing ammonia. And does it really decrease the level of ammonia? This is some slides out of a report we have done with a test in Australia. We had 3 stables, 3 sheds, the blue, the red, and the green one. And only in the blue one, we applied Stalosan on a weekly basis. And this is testing which is done after 7 days. This is testing done after 14 days, and this after 21 days. And in all cases, you see, and Stalosan, I must say, was applied on a weekly basis up to 21 days. And then you see that the blue shed with Stalosan F had a significant lower ammonia output than the other buildings. At 21 days, we stopped applying Stalosan F, but still we did some recording at 28 days, and we still saw some effect of Stalosan F. But this right away shows also that if you specifically use Stalosan F to lower your ammonia emission, you have to use it on a weekly basis. In other cases, you can probably use it in less treatments, but it depends on what you want to achieve, of course. So to end up my story, we've seen that Stalosan F is a very efficient dryer if ammonia is available. So we break down harmful waste products like ammonia. We lower the pH in the surroundings of birds, and we help drying your litter by using ammonia. We skip today the whole discussion of inhibition of bacterial metabolism or even elimination of these pathogens. This is for hopefully another time, but in the presentation which Anna is now giving us, she will come up with some of these examples also. So I will now stop sharing my screen, shut up for a while, and give the word to Anna. Anna, please.
Thank you, Jan. Hello to everybody. My name is Anna. I'm Poultry Technical Service Manager at Sanphar for 4 years. I'm a vet, and I'm responsible for Latin America. And I would like first to thank Vilofoss for this invitation to share a little bit of our experience in Latin America using this product of Stalosan in the poultry production. So I will start with this graphic, which shows the importance of a cleaning and disinfection program. When we have a good cleaning and disinfection program, we have infection pressure controlled. So we have different flocks in the same place, and it happens in the under control of sanitary points. But sometimes when it happens, it doesn't happen when the cleaning and disinfection program is not okay. It's going to trespass the line of infection, and infection could appear in this flock. That's why the cleaning and disinfection program is very important to control the disease in the poultry production. Here we have skip this. Sorry. Here we have a microbiological field trials. You can see a house of laying hens, where in this house we have 6 floors and 4 batteries. How many days we going to spend to wash this, and what's the result of the wash expected? So here we got 15 days to clean this structure with 2 people involved and 2 equipment involved, and the water consumption was 116 cubic meters. And it's very okay for expected, and we expect that everything goes okay and has a good result in the end. But as you can see in this table, we took 6 points of samples of swabs to check enterobacteria and mesophilic bacteria on these points. We took samples just after the laying hens leave this house. So these were the results in the 6 points for enterobacteria and the results for mesophilic. But after washing, as I mentioned to you, taking the specific detergents and soaps, very high quality to wash it. As you can see, the results are worse from the dirty swabs, even for enterobacteria and mesophilic bacteria. And why it happens? The better answer here is that the efficacy of the cleaning process was not good. So after that, we put Stalosan, and we apply Stalosan as a dry disinfectant, and we have these numbers of the result from these swabs from the 6 different points. As you can see, for enterobacteria and mesophilic, here we can have the average of these points, and you can see here the number, as I mentioned before, it improves, it's got higher, and here after using Stalosan, it decreased. It shows the capacity of the product to be active in the presence of organic matter, having the control of the infection pressure, and also showing the reduction until 5 logs, as we can say when we check the efficacy of some disinfectants, and we can see the variety of results until 5 logs, and the same for mesophilic reduction. Here are some examples of applying the product. Here is in a placed house. It's a very noisy equipment. That's why I need to be very careful about when we select to use this kind of equipment. The product is safe, but maybe the noise could affect the production of these layings. And this was the movie in an empty house, showing the cleaning disinfection during between the flocks. Here we have some experience. I'm going to show the experience in the breeder's house. The objective here is to prevent the contamination. So he have the next disinfection with this kind of equipment, which is manual and doesn't make any noise. So we can apply during the flocks are placed in the house. It's very easy, and and simple to apply. This is to prevent the air contamination, as I mentioned. As Jan talked before, there are some main pathogen as bacteria and fungi, mainly aspergillus, that are very common in the poultry production. And we can understand that it depends, that the contamination depends how clean and how contaminated is the first place where these eggs will touch after laying. So when we have the fungi contamination, we have some problems. We will have some problems in the hatcheries, and with bacteria, the same happen when we have a very not ideal conditions in the nest, and we have some problems in the hatchery with the contaminated eggs. So that it happens because bacteria can pass through the little pores in the eggshell. That's why we here the indication of the products is to prevent these kind of pathogens in the first touch of these eggs. It will depend also from the litter quality. When you have, as Jan mentioned a lot of times before, it depends the moisture content and the water activity. When we have more humidity, it's going to be in contact with the food of the breeders, and the breeders will take this organic matter to the nest. And depending of the breeding of this nest, it will going to be problem if it's not going to have a very good management of cleaning management of this nest. The intestinal integrity is very important too, when the breeders are not under control in this intestinal integrity, more moisture will be applied in this litter. So most organic matter will go into the nest. So it's another point of attention on the breeder's production. And the consequence, we already know, we are going to have problems with egg contamination in the hatchery, in the transference, in the in ovo injection, and also in the chicks showing ophalitis, and it will have a consequence of a poor quality products and even a mortality in the first week after placement of these chicks. So the recommendation for next conventional nest is 10 grams per nest weekly. We can put the product on the top of this litter and let the breeders mix the product during while they are coming inside or outside of the nest. And it's very important, as I mentioned, to check the litter quality in the parts of the house, as I'm going to show on the next slides. For the automatic nest, the recommendation is to remove the part independent of the brand of this nest. Do the dry cleaning with the help of some tools, reinstall, and then apply the product. The objective here is to have the products available to interact with the organic matter who comes into the nest and not in the organic matter already there. So that's why we recommend to previously do the dry cleaning of this equipment. The frequency of application, we recommend 21 days, but it depends on the frequency, how the farm do this, and how the litter quality is, and how the age of also the age of the flocks. So it depends of a lot of points, and that's why we need to check. And it's just a suggestion of the frequency of using. Now you can see some photos applying the product, very directed to the nest. The product needs to be here. We can also use in this part of the equipment where we can have maybe some problems with the maintenance of this drinking water line, and sometimes it drops and it will contribute to the moisture content in this part of the house. But the main recommendation is in the nest to avoid the contamination. Here's an example of calculation. We need to also all the times think in 50 grams per square meter. So we can have count the size of these models of the nest and calculate the total of product per application. Here we can see the end of the line where the eggs are available to be placed in these trays. And here is a photo how we understand is a good application is, where it's very homogenized and you can see even the eggs outside and inside the equipment ready to be used. Here's another field trial comparing liquid disinfection with Stalosan disinfection. We count mesophilic. The research was on mesophilic count. So we took samples from the nest, automatic nest. We applied the liquid disinfectant, and then 24 hours after that, we took another sample. And as you can see, the number decreased, was okay. But when we comparing to the effect of Stalosan, and you can ask me why this number is much more higher than this. This one, we took the worst house from the farm, and after applying the product, 24 hours after applying the product, we can saw the lower number of showing the effectiveness of the product. And why it happens? Because conventional disinfectants can take effect for 15 minutes. And after that, we're going to have water here, will contribute to the activity water and will contribute to the multiplication of this bacteria. While when we have Stalosan, we're going to get a dry environment. And as it's 100% mineral, it's going to persist activity over the many days after application. Here another example of the results comparing the Stalosan with the liquid disinfectant. You can see in the house A, we have also mesophilic bacteria and enterobacteria. In the mesophilic bacteria, we can see the average of these 5 points from the next automatic next number. When you can see after the application of the product, it number going down, and the same happened for enterobacteria. While when we use a liquid disinfectant, we can see the biggest difference between the numbers, and the activity water very present in this situation, contributing to the multiplication of bacteria in this area where we have the temperature, organic matter, and the water activity to contribute to this contamination. This was another field trial, but in this time we took enterobacteria, mesophilic, but also fungi and Aspergillus fumigatus. So we took samples like from this. It was a very aged flock, was 15 weeks, but the quality of the litter was very good, and I was a little bit afraid of not having a good result because it has a very, very good litter quality, even with 58 weeks. And as you can see here in the nest, is very clean. And we can, when we clean it, it was clean. But the results are representing the reality. When you can see the result of winter bacteria, we took only 2 samples with some develop of bacteria. Here is the average of these 10 sample points of swabs. And after application of the product, we reduce these 2 points. For mesophilic, we have always the amount of bacteria is much more higher than the enterobacteria. It's a very bigger group. So here we can see the average of these 10 points, different points in the automatic nest. And after applying the product, we can see this number going down. The same for fungi. We took 10 samples and the number was quite higher. And after applying the product, we can see how the number was minimized, showing the activity of the product during while the birds are there, the breeders are placed, where the organic matter is still going to the nest, and the product effect into this situation. For Aspergillus fumigatus, in this house there's no problem, as you can see here, and the results after applying the product was the same. So this is some results, and it's very important to, when we start to apply the product, we keep applying the product, because when we stop the application of the product, the numbers will come back to high, because as I mentioned, the breeders are there, the aged flocks, a lot of organic matter and moisture content in the litter, and we have these increase of the amount of bacteria if you stop. That's why we recommend the application of the product normally after 40 weeks or before when it's needed. Here is more videos about the product application during the breeders are placed. And here, this video is very interesting because we also see the breeders placed, but you can see the breeders shaking her heads like spray vaccination, feeling the product, but it's very safe and very confident to apply with the placement of the animals. This is another kind of application, but as you can see, it's not good because the person who apply will have certainly some problems here and to work in this position, and also the uniformity of the application is not good. That's why we do not recommend this kind of application. The product is very visual. As you can see, the color is different from the litter. Here is a example of wood-shaven litter, and you can see the difference of the color. So it's very visual to see how the quality is, the quality of the application was. And here I can share with you the experience of the foot pad lesions. We have some problems with the breeders, and normally it happens between the feeders line, where the moisture is more presenting, depending of the region, depending of the litter quality, and there's different ways to apply the product to guarantee the right application between this area, but always focusing on into the nest. Here another example by Aviagen. They allowed me to share this experience, and here was before the application of Stalosan. You can see how the compact was this litter, and after applying the product in the same place as the experience before, you can see after 3 hours the effects of the product into the leader, how it reacts in the leader, and 24 hours how the leader is after application of the product. In broilers, what we expect from the product is to bring biosecurity high level in the broiler production. Here in Brazil, we are the most of the biggest product of this meat. So we understand that we need to work with a high biosecurity level. It's also to improve the zootechnical indicators. It's pays the bills in the end of the day, and reduction of sanitary pressure. Here we work mainly with the salmonella indicator as a KPI, important to measure this high biosecurity level, and it's also alternative for dry disinfection. The protocol of use is 50 grams per square meter. We use it before the placement, but we can also use it at day 14 while the birds are placed. Here I can share with you some results of the KPI of salmonella after catching the birds, the broilers. There are 3 points from the 6 points we took samples, 3 points with positive for salmonella, and after the first application it goes to negative. And the same for in this other house where we took 6 points and the first one was positive, and then we got negative. It's it's a very important point is that here we reuse this litter. We do the treatment between the flocks because a sustainability point and for also a sanitary point. And then we did the treatment, the management of the litter, sorry, and we reuse this litter, but we always have the salmonella indicator to check the sanitary aspects of this litter. These are some photos to show how it's applied. So we put 1 package of the product of Stallosan F for each 300 square meter in the houses. And that's why we apply with our atomizer equipment. And this is a video to show. Here is the litter already treated. And we are applying to the roof, and so the product will be stick in all the surfaces, including roof, curtains, walls, equipments, feed equipments, and also, and in the end of the day, it will falls in the litter. So it acts in the presence of organic matter, it reduces the pressure of infection, and it's safe, even for the person who will apply, and also the birds are already placed or will be placed in the installation. The benefits is reduction of production losses, saving on medication costs, better production results, and return of investment 1 to 2 to 1 to 5. Examples for problem solving, we have high mortality, ammonia emission, moisture content, bad litter quality, as I can, and the previous one that I share with you. So thank you very much for your attention to share a little bit of our experience, and it'll be a pleasure to answer some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna and Jan. Until now, we have 4 questions. The first question is, what is if probiotic bacteria are used to inoculate the bedding? With higher moisture content, we have higher bacteria activity, leading to a faster composting process, therefore reducing ammonia emission. Is that assumption correct? It's a quite long question. Should I repeat it maybe? Should I repeat it?
Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, please.
What if probiotic bacteria are used to inoculate the bedding? With higher moisture content, we have higher bacterial activity, leading to a faster composting process, therefore reducing ammonia emission. Is that assumption correct?
Shall I try to answer this? First of all, I do not know what kind of bacteria are used to encourage this process, but yes, you should be careful before you mix two different therapies to treat your reused bedding. To give you an example, when we use Stalosan F in combination with like a live vaccine like IBA, we always say be careful because the Stalosan use will also influences your effectiveness of your vaccination. So maybe the two of them could be combined, but don't do it overnight. If you choose for a strategic way of composing and promote this, then maybe you should leave Stalosan use at that moment behind. But I'm sure that the two of them would support each other. If you would choose for this composing promotion during the period that you do not have birds in your stable, and you spread your litter again after the cycle, and during the cycle you promote your litter quality with Stalosan, the two of them could for sure work together. But mixing should be always be careful with mixing treatments in general. That's what I would say.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you. There are some customers here using this kind of management of the litter, using this kind of bacteria and also Stalosan. So I would not recommend to use in the same time. Will be recommended to use Stalosan previously to do the reduction of pressure, as I mentioned in my presentation. And after that, using some kind of a product like this to recolonize the leader, as a leader is considered like a live organism, as it has been deal with.
Okay. Yes, the next question is also quite long, so maybe I read it up 2 times again. Also, by inoculating the bedding with probiotic bacteria that would produce organic acids as a byproduct of their microbiological activities, therefore reducing the environment pH. Would this be enough to tip the scale in favor of controlling ammonia emissions? Should I read it up again, or?
I think not. I don't know what he thinks about this, but this kind of product acts in the organism, and it's not enough to minimize to decrease the pH of the litter. The purpose of the product is different from to reduce the pH.
Okay. Do you want to add something, Jan? Or?
No, I think this is 100% the reply for this question.
Yeah. Okay, fine. The next question is, does the product stick in the eggshell? Does it affect the incubation process?
It's a very good question. The product is very thin, and as you can see in my presentation, it makes like a fog into the installation, and even in the nest is not able to be glue stick it in the eggshell. It's going to be ticked until there is some feces or water in the shell. Where it's dried, the product will will fall from the eggshell. There's no problem from this.
Okay, thank you. The pH level of 3.5 isn't it harmful for the skin of the birds?
Well, I can comment to that. I would even recommend to use a product like a low pH. As I mentioned, in general, poultry litter would have a pH of around 8. Knowing that our skin, but also the skin of poultry, has a pH because of its sebum protection layer from around 5.5. This environment where birds are in is a constant attack on the first protection layer. If we talk on health, is this environment of 8 a constant battle with the pH of our skin. So supporting this with a low pH product, and it's not that they are surrounded by this low pH, but you add some of the 50 grams a square meter of this product to lower the direct environment of 8 to a lower pH. So no, this will for sure not hurt the skin. It will even help supporting the skin in keeping the sebum layer intact and doing its work where it's done, where it is meant to be.
In addition of the comment, the answer of Jan, we have all the statements and all the practical experience to guarantee that it doesn't make any negative effect.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are no more. Oh, sorry, that I can see just 2 questions more. Okay, it's just a thank you both for the webinar. Okay, no, that's not the question about technical things.
The start,
yes, okay, and then,
was good.
Sorry?
The start of the comment was good, though.
Yes, it was. Bas, thank you for the comments and just some practical thing afterwards. But we will just give the answer in the chat. So thank you very much, both Anna and Jan. It was really interesting, and yeah, it's a very important topic, bedding, and we haven't talked too much about it before, but I think it's very important for the producer.
Sure.
So the next webinar will be again a pig topic, and it will be about nutrition of the sow. It's on the 5th of May, and it will be either Anne Schäfer or Jakob Dahl who will hold this webinar. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.